ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
For this week in sports history, I'm JP. In 1921, after 3 hours of deliberation, a Chicago jury acquits 8 Chicago White Sox accused in Black Sox scandal. Next day, they are banned from organized baseball for life. In 1936, American athlete Jesse Owens wins a 200-meter in world record time, 20.7 seconds, and obtains his third gold medal of the Berlin Olympics. In 1982, Oakland outfielder Rickey Henderson steals his 100th MLB base of the season in a 6-5 win versus Seattle. He is the first to steal 100 twice in the modern era. In 1989, Cincinnati Reds set an MLB record for most hits in a first inning with 16 and 14 runs in an 18-1 rout of the Houston Astros. I just wish they'd do that now. And in 1992, the original U.S. Dream Team wins the basketball gold at the Barcelona Olympics, 117-85 over Croatia. The Dream Team featured superstars Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Scottie Pippen, Charles Barkley, and Patrick Ewing. That's This Week in Sports History. I'm JP.
On today's episode of America's Least Wanted, the home invaders most likely to threaten your family are not human. Cockroaches can spread salmonella and trigger asthma attacks. Termites destroy billions of dollars in property each year. And stinging insects send 500,000 people to emergency rooms. Learn how to protect your family. Arm yourself with the facts at pestworld.org.
A public service announcement from the National Pest Management Association.
This Thursday at 5:30, tune into the Sports Drive with me, Chad Brillante, when we tee it up with PGA and head pro at Osceola Golf Course, Adrian Stills, for his inside scoop on local golf events and some entertaining stories around the links. Adrian has represented Pensacola at the highest levels of the PGA Tour and is proud to call Pensacola his home. And now he's giving you the inside scoop Thursday at 5:30, right here on the Sports Drive on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Pensacola's own NFL Hall of Famer Emmitt Smith has some tips for us during this time.
This fight is up to all of us to try to help bend that curve. It's going to take teamwork. It's going to take us to stay committed, stay focused, and stay dedicated to the mission at hand, and that is to keep everyone safe. So be encouraging. Find some support. Find someone to talk to every day to encourage them to keep on continuing in this fight. We'll beat this pandemic.
This is ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM and 99.1 FM, the only local station that talks sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. From Gullick and Wingo to the Sports Drive with Chad Brillante. Plus talk football with Coach K at noon, sports call every Saturday. If you'd like to partner with us as an advertiser or a promotional partner, just give us a call at 262-6000.
You're listening to ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. All sports, all the time. WEBY, Milton, Pensacola.
The following has been produced by Talk Football LLC. Former Florida Gators quarterback, NFL quarterback, and NFL head coach. Coach K. Stevenson has a resume second to none, and now he's sharing his insider information with you. Talk Football with Coach K starts right now on ESPN Pensacola.
Welcome in to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach K. Stevenson on this Thursday afternoon. Hope everybody's doing well. Appreciate you joining the show today. And look, we have a ton to get to as we always seem to run out of time, but we're going to do our best to get to everything we can. As we always start the show, we will continue to do this. Look, we want to thank our first responders and healthcare workers at this time. These folks, what they do day in and day out. Well, you know what? If you don't know, well, now you know. These people putting themselves out there on the front lines, a different type of front lines. Obviously, being in military town, we are proud of our military, and we're proud of our first responders and healthcare workers, especially with with things like COVID-19 going on right now. So, with that being said, what these folks are doing, things that, like I said, I say this all the time, hearing stories of what things that we don't hear about, I don't want to hear about. Make it very clear. These folks are putting themselves out there in harm's way. We appreciate them, and look, with everything going on in our country, we have so many great police officers, so many great firefighters, EMT personnel, doctors, nurses. All these folks right now are just busting it, and they do it every day, and they love it. And the greatest thing about it is hearing the support they get from our community. That is just so awesome, and it makes me proud to say I'm from this area. So Look, while we're on that subject, go ahead and thank, of course, our grocery store employees, truck drivers, all the essential workers out there. All I'm going to say about that, folks, is when you go out to get groceries, obviously you've seen the arrows and things like this, and you got to wear a mask now in these places. And look, these people don't want to follow these protocols any more than you do, okay? Like, they would rather things be normal and go about our daily lives, but they're doing this not only to protect themselves, but to protect everybody and make things as easy as possible so we can go about our daily life. Now, normal is not a word we're going to be, but it's the new normal for right now until we can figure some things out. So, look, don't give these people any more problems than they already have to go through each and every day, okay? So if you can, just throw on a mask, follow the arrows. I've been guilty of it, not following the arrows, so try to just pay attention to others around you, and we're going to be just fine. We're getting through this. Things are getting better. We're getting some positive signs. We're not there yet, but we're on the right track. So, look, as we always, like we said, we have a ton to get to today, but first things first, Coach, how are you doing today, my friend?
Doing well, JP, and I send my thanks along, and also to our sponsors. People don't recognize what a great job they do in the community. And I know Bob Tyler, for example, has got some specials that are unbelievable going on right now. And if you just go in and tell him you heard about it on our show, I think you'd be shocked at what you can get out there at the Bob Tyler Toyota store. And, of course, we talk about the Levin Law Firm and what they do in the community. It's extensive. It's quite an add-on to our way of life, and we appreciate that. What a great feeling of comfort to know we have a law firm of that stature right here in town that you can, if you're in need of any legal advice or legal representation, you can pick up the phone and talk to them and get the best. So we thank all those people you've already saw. Congrats to, and also our sponsors.
Yeah, absolutely. Hill Kelly Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram as well, and Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. By the way, I had some friends, and I've been in there myself. It's awesome. Of course, look, Hill Kelly, we know the great deals. Much like you said, Bob Tyler, those folks, they'll take care of you. Let them know that we sent you. They will definitely look. They're not going to pressure you anything you don't want to do. I want to make that very clear. They will help you in any way possible. Just let them know what you need. But Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range, been in there. And here's the thing. You don't have to know anything. You don't have to know anything at all about guns. I actually sent a couple of my friends in there and told them to go check it out. And they said it was awesome because one of them, obviously, he's a former military, but his wife is not, and she didn't know much about guns. But he thought it was proper that she go in there and learn how to shoot a gun. Just in general, it's good to learn about safety and things like that, and they took care of them, and that was awesome. So those folks, look, they have guns you can go in there and buy as well, but you go in there and you can shoot a little bit, test it before you buy it, or just go in there and shoot. We all know, look, release some steam, learn about safety. It's always good to do things like that, but Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range, they'll take care of you. So, like you said, great sponsors, Coach. And our thanks goes to all those folks. And thank you for our listeners today tuning in with us. We're going to get into everything we can in football for the little bit of time we have. And, Coach, I'm going to start this with some we felt like this may be coming, but then we got the news, of course, yesterday afternoon. Fall sports championships have been canceled in Division II and Division III, obviously because of what's going on with the pandemic right now. Now, this affects football, men's and women's soccer, men's and women's cross country, field hockey, volleyball, water polo in both divisions. This doesn't affect, obviously, basketball. Basketball goes into obviously in the winter there, but this stinks because UWF, look, they're going to be national champions for another year, but look, they can still play their seasons. Obviously, the Gulf South Conference has said we're only going to do conference only. We'll see what happens if they still play. I believe that they're still trying to. Obviously, it's tough, and for people to understand this, look, we hear about Alabama, we hear about LSU. We talked about how hard it is for the Group of 5 teams. Not the Power 5, the Group of 5 to get these things done. It's tough for Division II and Division III, and Division III doesn't offer scholarships. And remind people of that as well. But Division II with UWF, it's a struggle. It's a lot of money to do the testing, to do all the protocols and things like that they're doing. And so, Coach, I hate to say I'm not surprised this happened, but you know what? Looks like the UWF's going to be national champions for another year.
Yeah, it's a shame, but. It shouldn't be surprising. We've talked about since all this conversation started about the season, JP, that the big boys would play. We just don't know whether the mid-sized, smaller schools are going to be able to. And it's really a matter, the biggest thing is it's a matter of cost. And not only the testing, which is expensive, we know there's a barometer there. We know that just during camp, the NFL is going to spend over $75 million or $77 million, whatever it is. That's just testing for camp. That has nothing to do with other expenses. And to be able to keep your football team, to some extent, I guess, quarantined or away from the student body. You can't put 20,000 students on campus with the players and think that they're not going to be subjected to this very contagious virus. It's just ridiculous. So you got to find some way to keep them away from the public as much as you can, and away from the other students. And in order to do that, they're going to have to, again, expense. They're going to have to get some private dwellings so that they can put them up, and private dining halls and those types of things. And they're just not set up to do that in mid-sized to smaller schools. I think they can find a way with the larger schools to get it done, even though it's going to be difficult for them. The NFL, I don't know if you saw the proposal by some columnist today in Sports Illustrated, where he's got the answer without any thought, that's for sure. But just cut the games down to 8 and play every other week. AFC play 1 week, NFC the next. You always have a week off. Well, what are you going to do about salaries? What are you going to do about the logistics involved? What are you going to, certainly would cut down on travel, which would be a big thing. It would cut down on hotel. In many cases, they could travel the day of the game, the morning of the game. But anyway, it's not a good idea. It won't work. And but the NFL, I really think the NFL's got an excellent chance to get this done. And don't compare it with baseball, JP. I keep hearing the comparison between the NFL and baseball, and you see what has happened to baseball, and the same thing is going to happen to the NFL. Not necessarily true. It could happen, but if you stop and think about it, there's not nearly the exposure. They're not traveling every 2 days, sometimes across the country. Different people are going to have to be involved with there, as well as hotel arrangements, eating arrangements, all that. They can pretty much keep these guys separate. So anyway, we'll see what happens. But I think the best chance we've got to see football is the NFL. Second would be the major college football with the bigger schools.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Coach, one thing, when you talk about baseball as well, I think baseball has adjusted. Look, once again, for everybody, as you go along, there's no reason to have one set-in-stone way of doing things. That's where people want the answer. I want to know the answer now, listening to Feinbaum and people like this. Well, they're not giving us the direct answer. Well, because there's no direct answer, because even doctors and nurses and all these healthcare people can't give you direct answers. If there was a direct answer of how to do this, if there was a direct answer of how to get rid of this, we would have a vaccine today. We'd all be okay. We'd all be cured. Everybody is learning how to deal with this day by day. Do you wear a mask? Do you not wear a mask? We went through all this stuff before, and we're learning more and more about it. But I think MLB, look, outside of obviously, I think the Cardinals situation was diffused fairly well. The Marlins, I mean, you're looking at it now. The Marlins are back on the field. I think these guys are learning a lot as well as players. Remember, these players, it's the first time any of us have had to go through this. And for MLB to be traveling, like you're talking about, they're traveling all the time. And now, yes, they've moved it regionally, so going up and down, staying in your divisions from the AL East to the NL East, things like that. That's all well and good, but they're still traveling a ton. They're still flying. And I'm actually, and I know things can change on a dime, but I'm actually surprised at how successful they've been, because 27 teams have been doing it pretty darn well. I mean, they've been doing a good job of it. If guys wake up and they don't feel well, or they feel like something's off, boom, they quarantine them. before they even get around anybody else. So I think that's good. Look, like I said, we're learning this, but for the NFL, you're right, Coach. You're going to be around your guys for a week, and then you go play, and then you come back. So it's once a week type thing here. It's going to be interesting. I think that, look, the NFL is going to get it figured out. College football, it's a different animal because the money is not there like for everybody. So we'll see. The big boys, like you said, the big boys will play. But right now for UWF, if you go on their website on GoArgos.com, they have their first home game being against Shorter late September right there. So we'll see if any of that changes, and we'll see what's going to happen with UWF. Right now, as far as I know, they're going to play, but we'll see. Like I said, everything changes. Coach, of course, today is the day the players, the deadline to opt out comes at 3 o'clock, so here in just a few hours. We're seeing a lot of players, obviously. The majority are playing. I mean, it's like 2% that have opted out right now. Now we'll see, how many more opt out before the deadline. Obviously, players that do opt out can get a stipend of $150,000 as basically a salary advancement against their contract. Guys that are high risk can get $350,000. There's a lot of things that go into this, but I actually think that there's been fewer players than I thought would opt out. I thought that this would kind of be more of a movement for guys trying to make a stand on some things, and it hasn't necessarily happened that way. For some, obviously, they have either family that are high risk or they're high risk and things like that. So you understand that. And regardless, if somebody just doesn't feel comfortable, so be it. I mean, that's your decision. You're the one out there putting yourself on the line. That's fine. I'm not going to say anything. But an interesting article came up, Coach, on Pro Football Talk. They were talking about basically there's a loophole in this, and it comes out, well, look, you can retire and then unretire. If you don't make it to the deadline today, let's say you want to see how things are going to happen whenever you put the pads on and you start hitting each other and you don't feel comfortable once that happens, you can technically, by the loophole that the NFL has left here, now I don't know if it's going to change or not, but you can retire after the deadline, and then technically if you wanted to come back, you could unretire. Now obviously there's a lot that goes into this. There's a lot that has to be approved. But Coach, look, when we say retire, unretire, retire, unretire, you think Brett Favre. Do you see anybody using this loophole? I mean, this seems like a lot of work, but you know what? It could happen.
Well, it could. I really don't see that being anything that too many people would even think about doing. It's a lot of trouble. Number one. Number two, it's not something that too many people. Look, most of these kids, guys, have decided they're going to play. And a lot of it has to do, JP, with money. I mean, you're going to leave that much money on the table because there's no guarantee you're ever going to have a chance to make it again. If people think they're just going to come back next year and everything is guaranteed for you, you're placed on that football team, somebody's going to take that slot that you're giving up. And somebody may end up being there next year instead of you. So you better think twice, long and hard, before you opt not to play. And again, I agree with you. If there are underlying reasons, then they should opt out. No doubt about that. And I have no problem with that. And if they're good enough football players, then they're going to have a chance to come back and regain their spot. But there's no guarantee on that. And certainly for a marginal player, it's really taking a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very true. And you don't want to get Wally pipped where you sit out this year, and then next thing you know, your spot's not there, and you're hoping that you can find a spot somewhere else. So you're right. Look, it comes down to money. A lot of these guys want to get paid. A lot of these guys want to make this very clear too. People are like, well, they're only doing it for the money. Well, yeah, of course they're doing it for the money. I mean, that's why they're in the NFL too. A lot of these guys want to get there and they want to get paid. So with that being said, a lot of these guys want to play football as well. I'll make that very clear. And that goes with college football. That goes with the MLB. We heard the Yankees come out when all this stuff happened with the Marlins, and they're like, listen, we met, we talked, we just want to play baseball. We know the risks that are involved, and we just want to play. And I think that was great because it's good to hear from the players and not necessarily the media speaking for the players in this. But, look, Coach, we got to go to a quick break. When we come back, the ACC released its official football schedule. Now we have teams and dates. We'll talk about some of our key teams, obviously Clemson, Florida State, Of course, North Carolina, we'll see what happens with all these teams. We'll talk about that, as well as the Mountain West announcing their revised conference schedule. And look, College Football Selection Committee talks about December 20th is when they release their final rankings. We'll see if they make any changes to that as well. All that and more coming back right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck, Bentley. That was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
There's only one place in town for the lowest prices and greatest selection of firearms. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Visit our fully stocked Gun Pro Shop for new and used firearms, accessories, and ammunition. Check out the Indoor Shooting Range. We offer rentals on guns, including fully automatic machine guns and silencers. Ladies, this is the safe place to learn how to use a gun. Plus, Tuesday is Ladies' Day. Women shoot for half price all day. The best place to buy firearms in Pensacola. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Highway 29 in Car City.
Bowling is a sport that will last you a lifetime, and at Cordova Lanes on Airport Boulevard, every night there is something exciting happening. Like on Tuesday and Thursday, it's penny a pin. Bowl 100, pay $1. Or how about starting your weekend off right by reserving a lane for just $25 at Moonlight Bowling. Enjoy a fresh-made pizza and the lowest pitcher prices in Pensacola. So what are you waiting for? It's time to roll your way into Cordova Lanes and experience fun like never before. Hey, what's up? Chad here from the Sports Drive. Well, we're into August, that first time that we start to feel the flow for football season.
Football.
Like getting ready to run out of the tunnel to a song like Enter Sandman. Might be a little different this year. Probably no smoke, social distance away from the people, as you might get cheered on by virtual fans.
You can do it!
But overall, we're excited, and we'll keep you posted with the latest updates from high school, college, and the NFL. Join myself, Chad Brillante, and JP right here on the Sports Drive, 5 to 7 on ESPN Pensacola.
See, very intrigued by the Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
Dan gets so mad that there isn't one dissenting voice.
It's not even that much of a risk, Mike. It's a 6.5.
does that all the time. He doesn't get any credit for it.
No, but no one with credibility dares risk it because they all just want to put stars up next to their name and pick the most obvious possible thing.
Thanks, Dan.
The Dan Le Batard Show with Stu Gotts, 9 till noon, weekdays on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
You can watch Coach K talk football live right now on our YouTube channel at ESPN Pensacola 1330.
Welcome back to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach K. Stevenson. This Thursday afternoon, beautiful day outside. Hope you're doing well. Appreciate you tuning into this show with us and jump back into this, Coach. The ACC, look, we knew they released a couple weeks ago who was going to play who. We didn't know when. We didn't know where, how that was going to be. Obviously, we do know all these things now outside of a few non-conference games for some teams that are still working on it. When you look at this schedule, Coach, for the ACC, you look at Florida State. Now, Florida State will play Samford as their non-conference game on September 19th. They will open the season September 12th against Georgia Tech, and that game will be a home game. So the first two games of the year, obviously at home, and they travel to Miami to play there. Then Notre Dame, they have an off week, October 3rd, October 10th, is Notre Dame, right there in Notre Dame. Obviously, going to be a fun game to see with Notre Dame joining the ACC this year. Now, it's just this year. And then going on to play North Carolina, Louisville, Pitt, NC State, Clemson, Virginia, and finishing off the year against Duke. And then the championship game obviously will be either the 12th or the 19th. Now that depends on if they need to push anything back or not. Coach, when you look at this, obviously Clemson does not have their non-conference game set up yet, but we know pretty much everybody plays everybody. I'll be honest with you. This is going to be fun. This is going to be a whirlwind. This is not like anything that I thought I would see, obviously. But I will say this. The one non-conference game, I will take that over playing 3 nobodies. I'm not a big fan. I get it. Some teams do this. And look, the little guys love it because the little guys get paid some big bucks sometimes. But I am not a fan of playing some of these small schools, even though we're seeing, look, Miami's playing UAB, which UAB's they're an up-and-coming school. They're not bad. I want to make that very clear. I have a lot of friends that are UAB fans, but you're looking at Virginia playing Virginia Military Institute. People like this. Wake Forest plays Old Dominion, which, by the way, Old Dominion's a pretty good FCS team there, or I believe they're FBS now. But, Coach, when you look at this, I like the schedule. I like to put out, look, first off, you've got 2 open weeks, and then you've got an extra week there at the end that you can actually push back if you need to. I like the way these conferences have kind of overcame a lot of the trouble when it comes to scheduling.
Yeah, I think building that flexibility right off the bat is smart. It gives them an out if a team or teams need to change the schedule around. That's another advantage, JP, that you have by playing within the conference, inter-conference games. You've got a better chance of making those schedule changes and changing games around and so on. So anyway, no, I agree. I like the flexibility, and I think it's going to be a big plus. I think the one extra game and the ACC has maybe created somewhat of a little problem in that, what we talked about before. Now, somebody's going to be playing Old Dominion, and somebody's going to be playing Sanford and Florida State. And these smaller schools, I tell you, it is a bigger risk for the virus, spread the virus, because they will not have had the protocols in place that the larger schools had. So I'd be a little concerned about playing the smaller schools for that reason. Now everybody's, that's great, we get a game to whip up on somebody and play a lot of people. I understand that. But that virus may whip up on you if you're not careful.
Yeah, and Coach, that's something that I have not heard at all that I think people should be talking about. You brought that up the other day, or last week, and you were talking about it. And look, it's a big risk. Obviously, we understand Sanford, great academic school, really beautiful campus as well. If you've ever been out there, it's awesome. But they just don't have the money. Let's call it what it is. I mean, let's call a spade a spade. They don't have the money. They're not able to do the same protocols. They're obviously doing the best they can, but testing and things like this, these things cost a lot of money. You mentioned with the NFL, it's costing $75 to $78 million just for camp. Just for camp. I mean, that's it. That's a lot of money. I mean, that is a lot of money, and these schools don't have that kind of change sitting around. So, Virginia playing Virginia Military Institute, we'll see. I mean, Boston College opens up with Ohio. That's a MAC school. I mean, it's a good school, but once again, that's a group of 5 team that's not getting the funding that everybody else is, and so we'll see. But yeah, I agree with you, Coach. I think it's a tremendous risk, and we'll see if those games stay as well. Who knows what's going to happen? And I'm interested. I think they will, obviously, but it wouldn't surprise me if a team didn't schedule a non-conference game. I know that they have the +1, but I don't know. Well, like I said, we'll see what happens with it. But moving on, Coach, the Mountain West announced their revised plan for 2020 fall sports. Obviously, they got everything figured out. Obviously, they'll start their competition September 26th and have their football teams play an 8-game conference schedule and up to 2 non-conference games. So, once again, just announcing that as obviously you look at the group of 5 conferences there, the Mountain West announcing their schedule moving on. As something else that popped up, obviously, about an hour ago, the coaches poll, the preseason coaches poll popped up for the top 25. No surprise here, Coach. Clemson number 1, Ohio State 2, Bama 3, kind of what we thought. Georgia is 4, surprising to me. I mean, hey, hats off. LSU's 5. Oklahoma 6, Penn State 7, Florida 8, Oregon 9, Notre Dame 10, rounding out the top 10 there. And then some of the other notable teams, Auburn is 11th, Texas A&M 13th, Michigan is 15, and that's about it when you talk about the top 25 with any significance around our area. UNC, by the way, North Carolina is 19th. But, Coach, when you look at that, top 5, Clemson, Ohio State, Bama, Georgia, LSU. Any surprise there? Are you surprised that LSU's number 5?
To be honest with you, I am. I'm a little surprised. I think, again, I go back to putting myself in a situation. If somebody said to me, I'm coaching a football team, and we got a good football team, have a good season. But Coach, we're going to have to take 16 of your players away from you. And by the way, your quarterback, who's number 1 draft pick in the draft, and just had a season better than anybody's ever had in 150 years of football, we're going to take him away too. Good luck. Go get it. I'm afraid I wouldn't be too happy with that. Now, that's somewhat of an exaggeration, but it is true. They are losing 16 people, which includes the quarterback, the guy that made it all run. They are also losing Bailey, the coach that came in and brought that system. Now, I think they'll be able to replicate and have a similar type system again because they know it works and they know you win with it. But it won't be quite the same. So what I'm saying is I have some doubt about LSU being able to revamp and overcome all of that, JP, and be the 3rd or 4th or in the top 5 in the country. I just have a problem with it. I think, to me, Clemson, Alabama, and Ohio State are probably the top 3. I think they've got that right. I would go Clemson, Alabama, Ohio State if it were me putting the 3 in position. There's some question about we can go down through the poll, each one, but there's some question on some others too. I would just have a problem with LSU being placed in there where they are.
Yeah, I agree. I even, and this is hard because you're talking about one of the best defenses. I'll make that clear. In Georgia at number 4, and look, granted, you could mix match a lot of these teams. I mean, so are you saying that LSU should be 4, or Oklahoma should be 4, or Penn State should be? No, I'm not saying that, but I think with Georgia, the defense is going to be really good. I think a lot of this for Georgia this year, there is. Look, we talked to Alex Scarborough yesterday for ESPN.com, and he said the same thing. There's a lot of hype on Georgia in this quarterback situation. Obviously, the kid coming from Wake Forest, and look, Coach, I am surprised. I think the defense obviously can make them a top 10 team for sure. I'm wondering if the offense is going to be able to catch up because, look, the young man is a good quarterback. We saw what he did at Wake Forest, but that's at Wake Forest. Once again, I come back. I'm not saying it can't happen, but what I'm saying is we're already crowning him. And this guy, obviously, when you're playing in the SEC, it's a different animal. Anybody, we have guys that have played in the SEC before. You're talking about every single week you strap up and put your helmet on, you better be ready to play because your butt can lose in a heartbeat. It doesn't matter. You look at some of the outside of a team like a Vanderbilt, Kentucky, teams like that, you better suit up and you better be ready. And so that's where, for Georgia, I don't know, Coach. I've said this before just much like you. I think this is Florida's year because of everything that's coming back. I think they have a lot of talent. I think they're going to put it together. They've been together. They didn't lose a ton. For Georgia, replacing 4 of their starting 5 offensive linemen is going to be tough. New quarterback, new offensive system. I think the offensive system will be great in what they're trying to implement. But this year, I struggle. I know they have a bunch of 5 stars over there, but I just think there's just too much that you're trying to change in a season where you haven't gotten spring practice, and it looks like you're going to get a limited amount of padded practices as well. So, Coach, I mean, are you as skeptical as I am about Georgia this year as well?
I am. Same way you can apply the same logic that we just applied to LSU. They're going to lose 4 of the 5 offensive linemen. Their quarterback, who has been I don't care how you rate him, he has been extremely productive as a quarterback. He's put two quarterbacks that were rated best high school quarterbacks in the country, and he's put them both on the road. And they lose him. So how do you replace that? And here lies the problem, because you've got to bring somebody else to that same level. Number one, are they capable of it? And let me tell you, I've heard from more than one person that this kid from Wake Forest may not be their quarterback at Georgia. So that's something you got to take a look at. Well, I see this as being Florida's year. I would put Florida in the top 5 over Georgia. I really would.
Yeah, I agree, and there's a lot to be said with that. And listen, for Georgia, make this very clear: they have one of the most talented defenses in the country. But there's a lot of question marks outside of George Pickens at that wide receiver. I know you got Demetrius Robertson and Dominic Blaylock. We'll see what happens with those guys. A guy that I think can help tremendously. We all know how important it is to have a good tight end, and Georgia's had some good ones come through. Trey McKitty, the FSU transfer there, that young man can play some football at the tight end position. I think he'll be a big star for him this year, but you're relying on Zamir White, who's a good player. I want to make that clear. But once again, guys stepping into roles they've never had to do before. JT Daniels, I agree, Coach, the quarterback now from USC. I think he fits that offensive system a little bit better for what they're trying to do. But once again, Jamie Newman is a talented quarterback. All their quarterbacks are talented. That's the other thing. If you're a Georgia fan, you got to like your quarterback room. You got Stetson Bennett, who's really talented. JT Daniels, got Brock Vandegrift coming in next year. What in the world's going to happen with that? I mean, this is, we know they can recruit, but this is different. Now, if Georgia has the same spring, maybe it's different for them, where they can get some spring football in, but we'll see. That's one of the reasons why I still believe regardless, that this is Florida's year. They've been biding their time. They have figured it out, and they're ready to go with Kyle Trask now at quarterback. So, Coach, one more thing before we go to break. The College Football, obviously, Playoff Selection Committee moves their final ranking release to December 20th. They had originally said December 6th. Obviously, we're seeing a lot of these conference championships being moved back to December 19th possibly, so this is why they're doing this. Coach, I mean, once again, I know we've said this, but the question keeps being brought up. Do you believe the committee will go outside of the 4 playoff teams and possibly maybe do 6, or is this just going this year? We're just going to go with 4. We're going to stick with the process and make the best of it.
I think they'll stick with the same process. That's my guess. Of course, anything can happen. I agree with that. But I really think they would, this year, maybe of all years, they would not want to expand it. So I see them sticking with the same format.
I agree. And I will say this, too, by the way. Talking with Joe Ford earlier, we were talking about the bowl situation and everything. We were talking about, we wish that, look, get rid of the bowls, give me 8 playoff teams. If we're going to do that, I would be happy with that. I mean, I understand the situations that go on and money and everything, but you know what? I would rather give me some games that matter in a playoff system like that and get rid of the Bahamas Bowl and the Belk Bowl. And no disrespect to these people, and I understand for the little guys it means a little bit more, but just as a fan overall. But anyway, we got to go to a break, Coach. When we come back, we're going to talk about an very awkward situation. It's not the first time we've said that with John Gruden before, and what's going on with the Raiders, as well as Alabama offensive coordinator Steve Sarkisian getting a little bit of a payday or pay raise here. And we'll talk about the tip line there. All these leagues, these conferences are having tip lines set up for college football and the NFL. We'll talk about if that's a good idea or not. All that and more when we come back right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text. Stop the wrecks.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck, Bentley. That was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
Sometimes your bank, your family, and your friends love you, but they don't have the money to help you. Sometimes we have chances to make money, but the old saying, you've got to have money to make money, rings true. At Pensacola Specialty Pond, we can help. If you have trucks, heavy equipment, airplanes, boats, jet skis, anything with value, Pensacola Specialty Pond can loan you that short-term money you need. No credit checks, and at Pensacola Specialty Pond, you're going to find the money and the discretion you need.
Now at 6428 Pensacola Boulevard, north of Car City. Call 432-9050, 432-9050.
Want to know what I like best about high school sports? I love watching my son run on the field. I love the fact that since he's been playing high school sports, he's making better decisions. And I love knowing that with the proper equipment, education, conditioning, and coaching, high school sports here in Florida are safer than ever before. And that's something I really love.
This message presented by the Florida High School Athletic Association and the Florida Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
I'm Troy Rafferty, and many of you know about my love for sports and my longtime support for our local high school athletes. One thing these fine young people have taught me over the years is this: whether it's on the ball field, in the classroom, or in a court of law, always work your hardest and achieve the best results possible. And that is the commitment we make to our clients and our community.
Levin Papantonio in Pensacola since 1955.
Hurricane season is upon us, and although we aim to bring you the latest news in sports, we're committed to bringing the Pensacola community the latest updates and information during the 2020 hurricane season. In collaboration with our sister stations, News Radio 92.3 AM 1620 and Cat Country 98.7, stay up to date with breaking weather news and updates on the biggest storms impacting Northwest Florida by checking our Facebook pages at Cat Country 98.7, News Radio 92.3, and ESPN Pensacola.
This is Davis Allen from Sports Call with Davis and Justin, and you're listening to Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Welcome back to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach K. Stevenson on this Thursday afternoon. Appreciate you guys joining us. Jump back into this, Coach. What an awkward situation this is. And now I could say that and tell you John Gruden, and you'd be like, oh, okay. And you wouldn't even know what's going on, and you would be like, yep, okay, that's fine. I believe that. I haven't even heard the story, and I believe it. Well, once again, Coach, this is, guys, so weird. When I saw this article, I had to read it a couple times just because it's still shake my head like, all right. I mean, it is what it is. But I'll get your take on this, Coach. You're a former player, former NFL coach as well. So we'll see what you say. Now, Raiders coach John Gruden obviously does not have COVID-19, but his players were led to believe he did. According to Mike Garafolo of NFL Network, Raiders logged into a Zoom team meeting expecting to be addressed by Gruden, only to hear from assistant head coach and special teams coordinator Rich Bisaccia. I may have butchered that a little bit, but basically saying that Gruden was hospitalized with COVID-19. Now, here's the kicker. That wasn't true, but Gruden and the Raiders staff wanted to test the players at how they would react and prepare them for this most unpredictable of NFL seasons. Whether such a move actually helps the Raiders to prepare to expect or the unexpected or whatever, Coach, I don't know that lying to them in this sense, works out. These are grown men. Obviously, if you're trying to let them know how serious this COVID-19 is, sure, I guess, but I think everybody understands that at this point. Coach, what in the world do you make of what happened yesterday with the Raiders?
Well, first, a big cheer went up in the room. I'm sure up from all the players, but that is crazy. That is, to me. I mean, I don't know. It's just that just seems so beyond the pale for a head coach to do. What did he expect them to do? How are they prepared? Oh my goodness! What a juvenile approach to preparedness with the virus. I don't know. It's like John. I've talked to John 2 or 3 times over the last year about coming on our program here, our show with us. Oh yeah, I'll be glad to. But he's always got something comes up at the last minute. But he's I don't know. That's a stutter for me. I can't get it. I can't even begin to get it.
Yeah, he said that he believes that this will help his team and team's effort to crush COVID-19 into the ground. I'm not a John Gruden fan. I like him to an extent. I think he's nuts. I'll say it. I've never met the guy, but just from everything that I've seen, I think he's nuts. And sometimes, look, you got to be crazy to be a coach sometimes. But he's a different character, to say the very least. So, Raiders, if I was a Raiders player, that would be, Coach, you're right. Some of them may have been like, all right, here we go. Let's roll. So I don't know. I mean, it is what it is. Nonetheless, not a good look for the Raiders coach there. He better get his act together. But nonetheless, look, talking about Alabama, the Crimson Tide here. Offensive coordinator Steve Sarkisian, look, I think he's done a pretty good job with everything. Done a great job kind of rebounding as well. And we've seen a lot of coaches go through that program and go on to be head coaches again. I mean, we remember Sarkisian. He was a good coach, but obviously going to Alabama, you'll learn a lot here playing for Saban, a lot of things that you take with as you look at there's a lot of coaches out there that coached under Saban are now head coaches and are now being successful. And so basically he had a raise that is $2.5 million per year that was approved by the school's board of trustees. A little surprised right now, but nonetheless, hey, it is what it is. According to USA Today's database, that's more than 9 Power 5 head coaches, including Brian Kelly of Notre Dame, were paid in 2019. In addition, defensive coordinator, this is a little surprising, Pete Golding received a 1-year extension and a raise that will pay $1.2 million annually. So obviously the contracts run through February 28, 2023. Coach, when you look at this, the question being brought up, obviously, is Steve Sarkisian. Now, we know he's talented. He's a talented head coach. He was talented. I make that clear. Wasn't as successful, but coming to Alabama, I think he's obviously kind of renewed that. We've seen guys like Lane Kiffin. We've seen obviously Kirby Smart, Mike Locksley, guys like this go on. I mean, you could go on and on and on. Guys that have been under Saban there. When you look at this, do you believe that Steve Sarkisian is going to be the next head coach to leave Alabama?
Well, there's probably a pretty good chance that that'll happen. This has been a godsend for Sarkisian to have been at Alabama. And, stop and think now. He had a chance. In fact, he left for a year and coached with the Atlanta Falcons. Came back to Alabama. So there had to be something pretty strong there to pull him back to Tuscaloosa from the Falcons. And I would suggest to you that it was probably because he felt that he would have the best opportunity for future possibilities if he stayed with Saban over there. Now, that's my guess. I think it's been good for him. And boy, has he put himself in trouble for both at Southern Cal and at Washington. Great jobs. And he cost himself in both situations. So, you have to look at that and think, wow, is he susceptible to doing it again? And people are going to listen. They're going to have to be almost certain that he's not going to pull that same. And I think some of it had to do with alcohol, a lot of it maybe. But people are going to have to be certain before they turn over a major program to him again. And the best thing he could do is to have Nick Saban say, I don't think that this would happen again. Now, I'm serious. That may be the best opportunity he might have because I don't think he's going to have much of an opportunity in pro football. So his best chance would be to get another college job, a good college job, but he's going to need Nick Saban to go to bat for him.
Yeah, you're absolutely right on that, Coach. And Steve Sarkisian, you two mimosas is what I'll say on that. And he had a great opportunity, and he pulled it away. You're right, though. Look, being with the Falcons, coming back to Alabama and Tuscaloosa, there's something there. But I like him. Look, I think he's done a great job with that program. You don't hear any. Look, when Lane Kiffin was there, we heard nothing but negativity between those two. Just too much clashing going on because had two different personalities there, and sometimes those personalities don't work. And obviously, Saban is Saban, so Saban's going to win out. That's like Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick says Bill Belichick's going to get, and you can argue all you want to, but he's going to win. So regardless, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But Sarkisian and Pete Golding getting obviously some extensions there and getting a little bit of a raise in this time. So before we go to break, Coach, just say this, that look, obviously a lot of these conferences in college, the NFL, they've implemented basically people are calling them snitch lines. I'm not going to call it that because with COVID-19 right now, if you can't follow protocols, obviously yes, you need to have some kind of outlet to report it. So, Coach, when you look at this, though, the obviously being able to have these hotlines, I think it's a great move. But at the same time, there's a lot of people that are saying, well, anybody can report anything. I think that's just a part of this. I mean, there's going to be people that lie. Like we said, the whole Colorado State thing, who knows? I'm still waiting to find out what the reports are going to say about that. Some people said they didn't report protocols. Others are saying they go above and beyond. And, in fact, when I even thought I was sick, they made me quarantine for 10 days, so we'll see what happens. But, Coach, the hotlines here for the NFL, the college football, they have to be there, do they not?
Yeah, but it's a sad situation when the families have to pay the price. I won't take too much time here. I know we're going to break. But if you've seen the television account of what happened to Stafford's family, his wife, his children, the condemnation they got from the public, the kids in school were bullied, and it's terrible. I think that the National Football League and this day and time, with this that's going on, I think that even though they have been totally open about any injury situation, I think right now that if a person is going to miss practice because of whatever, injury, illness, whatever, they shouldn't tell the press. They should not have to report what it is. They should find a way to keep things like that in-house because the families are paying a terrible price out there. Other people not wanting to be around them. If they go for groceries, they're chastised. Kids in school, it's just not fair. So anyway, that's my thought.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right, Coach. And I do want to talk about that when we come back from break here. And, of course, Matthew Stafford, he was on the reserve COVID-19 list, and then it was a false positive. So how can that affect the NFL season? If a guy gets a false positive before a game, a big-name quarterback, maybe a Tom Brady or whoever, regardless of the player, how can that affect the NFL season for him? And we'll talk about the Packers. Devontae Adams coming out saying we were expecting a wide receiver to be drafted as well. Well, that's no surprise there, and a lot of rumors going on about Antonio Brown right now. We'll talk about all that and more when we come back right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
There's only one place in town for the lowest prices and greatest selection of firearms. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Visit our fully stocked Gun Pro Shop for new and used firearms, accessories, and ammunition. Check out the Indoor Shooting Range. We offer rentals on guns, including fully automatic machine guns and silencers. Ladies, this is the safe place to learn how to use a gun. Plus, Tuesday is Ladies' Day. Women shoot for half price all day. The best place to buy firearms in Pensacola. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Highway 29 in Car City.
Few ridiculous facts. I'm JP. Legendary Browns running back Jim Brown is undoubtedly one of the greatest players in NFL history, as his Hall of Fame football career is impressive enough on its own, but Brown is also considered to be the greatest to ever play the game of lacrosse. He played collegiate football and lacrosse at Syracuse. And if you need a pick-me-up, in 1989, minor leaguer Tim Fortugno was traded for $2,500 and 144 baseballs. I mean, baseballs are kind of expensive, right? That's your ridiculous facts. I'm JP. JP here. Everyone here at ESPN Pensacola wants to send a shout out to our first responders and healthcare workers at this time. We know it's tough, but we appreciate the work you put day in and day out. We also want to thank our essential workers out there for helping all of us continue to live our lives as normal as possible in this time. For our community, keep rocking it. We are going to get through this. Remember, we were named the #1 strong town in America. That wasn't by accident. We have seen so many people step up and do their part, and we thank all those people for their efforts. We will be stronger for this, and together, we will beat COVID-19.
The teams, the games, the fans, the local talk. This is ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Welcome back to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach Kay Stevenson on this Thursday afternoon. Appreciate you joining us here. Coach, going to jump back into this again. Final segment of the show, talking about the Matthew Stafford issue. Now, you talked about, obviously, what his family had to go through, and it stinks. It really does. I mean, kids being ridiculed, family being ridiculed over something like this. And when you look at this overall, now, outside of that, from an NFL perspective, obviously we're going to be testing. There are going to be false positives. I think we've seen that. Even people in our area get false positives. I know somebody that had a false positive, and of course, it changed them a little bit, but nonetheless, it is what it is. Coach, when you look at this from an NFL perspective of getting on the field and playing, now, let's just say, just to throw this out there, obviously quarterbacks are pretty important to teams, as of everybody, but you understand what I'm saying. Tom Brady, let's just say week 1, Tom Brady, Drew Brees goes out there, and Tom Brady tests positive for COVID-19. Now, obviously, God forbid, when I say this, I'm just using an example in this, but and then comes back that it was a false positive, and he has to miss that game, and the Bucs miss that game, or maybe it's later in the year, and you got to win to get in the playoffs, things like that. Coach, I mean, we're seeing. I mean, there's more false positives than people believe. I want to make that very clear. That are going around the league. But when you look at this, I mean, could this become a big-time issue, especially when you're talking about every game matters in the NFL?
Well, yes, you're right. It could. But I firmly believe that there are going to have to be some outside-the-box thinking here on handling everything this year. And one of them is how do I handle the most critical position on the football team? If your quarterback goes out, and let's say the quarterback room, let's put it this way now, you got all your quarterbacks in there in the same room together, and somebody comes down with it. You have to quarantine everybody. You don't have a quarterback. So what I would suggest that people think about doing, this is what I would do. I would have 4 quarterbacks, and I would have my starting quarterback and my third quarterback active for the game. And I would quarantine my second quarterback and my fourth quarterback, meaning that if something happened, that the quarterback, your starting quarterback, had to miss a ball game or something, you would want your second best quarterback available. But if he's on the sideline with him and a quarterback room with him, then you'd lose them both. So I would think about doing that this year. I really would. You say, well, what about what happens on that one game where you lost quarterback, your starting quarterback? Well, you're probably not going to win that game anyway. So you might as well have your third guy in there playing, and have your second guy that you have some confidence in to start a game and have him ready to go the next game. Anyway, just a thought. That's what I think I would do.
Yeah, absolutely. That's you know what, that's what we're hearing teams thinking about quarantining guys, things like that. You're right, though. Have that backup guy because if you lose your starting quarterback, for some teams, look, if you're the Bears, now that's a little bit different if you have Nick Foles and then Mitch Trubisky, but the majority of teams, let's be honest, obviously your backup is not very good. So go ahead, and your third string and your backup are probably fairly close to when it comes to talent anyway, but regardless, go ahead and let your third string guy be there, and that's interesting. But once again, Coach, you know it's just something that everybody's running through right now. So there's no right answer. There's no perfect answer. Everybody is learning about this. But as of the Lions, you talk about the Matthew Stafford. It was a false positive, and obviously it's more important for what it meant to his family. We've seen guys in sports go through this already, Jimmy Johnson as well. But it stinks. But it's a part of it right now. We have to test and you have to take precautions. So anyway, with that being said, Coach, the Packers wide receiver, I know we got a few minutes here. Devontae Adams talking about he thought they were going to draft a wide receiver as well. He was surprised. Has brought up now, obviously, Antonio Brown. Now, Antonio Brown obviously has got an 8-game suspension. This should be short and sweet on this, Coach. Now, here's the thing. Antonio Brown, because people don't want to sign him for more than a year because they don't know what's going to happen because he's still under allegations as well, by the way. He's asking for a pretty high asking price to come back. So, Coach, my question is for the Packers right now, they're rumored to be possibly going after Antonio Brown with obviously needing wide receiver help. Do you think this is a good move or bad move if they go get Antonio Brown?
Well, there are a lot of things here to think about. Number one, he for him to hold anybody up that may even be vaguely interested in him because of contract is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. He's going to have to play with whatever somebody will get him, period. That's the end of that story. Now, the Packers may be backed into a corner because of what they failed to do in the draft, where they have to cover themselves. They may have to look at going out and getting this guy. Now, is there any guarantee that he's going to be there for the 8 remaining games, or if they're fortunate enough to get in the playoffs for the playoffs? No. There's no guarantee that he's going to be there, and there's no guarantee that he is going to be the difference. But he could be a big difference to that Green Bay team if he came in and played the way he's capable of playing for the salary that they would pay him, and he could last and be a plus in the locker room, which is very hard to imagine. So anyway, it's a tough decision, but they may have to take it.
Yeah, you're right. When you talk about them being backed into a corner, Coach, they very well might put up themselves in that situation now. And look, that's why everybody wants to make it an incentive-based contract, rightfully so. But Antonio Brown wants some guaranteed money. I agree with you. You have no right now to guarantee anything. But we'll see what happens nonetheless. Don't be surprised if the Packers end up signing him because they do need, obviously, some help. But, Coach, that sound means it's time for us to go. Look, we didn't get to everything, but you know what? We're going to do it again tomorrow, but it's been an absolute pleasure.
You bet. Enjoyed it, JP, and see you tomorrow.
Absolutely, Coach, and enjoyed it as well as always. And look, we thank you guys for joining us right here. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, talking some football when you know we'll have all the latest news for you right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
Round coverage of the PGA Championship live right now on ESPN+. Tie for the lead, Zach Johnson and Scotty Scheffler both at 4 under. Tiger Woods is at 1 under. 76ers forward Ben Simmons has a partially dislocated left kneecap. He got hurt last night against the Wizards. No word yet how long he'll be out. ESPN's Dave McMenamin.
You could say on one level, if you don't have Simmons, things become even more clear that you just got to do everything through Embiid, and perhaps he becomes more of a playmaker in the offense as well as a scorer.
LeBron James is out for tonight's game against the Rockets with a sore right groin. No word yet on how long Magic forward Aaron Gordon will be out. He left last night's game against the Raptors with a tight left hamstring. The Clemson Tigers are number 1 in the USA Today preseason football coaches poll. The rest of the top 5, Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, and LSU. Nationals right-hander Max Scherzer says he's not concerned about his sore right hamstring. He got hurt last night.
Jay Will, and Zubin. Mornings, coming August 17th to the all-new ESPN Radio.
First Take, your take.